我会问他说，我在我们8月多来考察之前，我以为这边只种檀香，因为这边只有生产檀香的精油嘛，我以为只有种这个，但是其实不是。除了檀香之外，还有很多7、8、9、10、11种的当地的作物会一起种植。那我会问他为什么会这样子的处理方式。Okay, the last but not the least question is that for planting, originally I thought that we only did sandalwood during site inspection last time we were here in August, but it's not. And can you explain more about why we're doing the whole planting thing, not just sandalwood?
This can be a long answer. So sandalwood is a hemiparasitic plant. So the sandalwood, when it is 1 year old, loses its root hairs. Once it loses its root hairs, it cannot absorb water and nutrients from the ground like a normal plant. So its roots have to attach itself to another tree. And then from the other tree, it takes all of the nutrients and water from the other tree in order for it to grow. So when you plant sandalwood, you always have to plant host trees. The best host trees are legumes. Legumes are plants that are able to take nitrogen from the atmosphere and put it into the ground. So what happens is the koa trees that you see back here along with the sandalwoods take the nitrogen from the air, put it into the ground in their roots. The sandalwood tree attaches to the koa tree, and then the sandalwood tree takes the nitrogen so it can grow. So whenever you plant sandalwood, and that's why for many, many, many centuries, all plants need nitrogen, and that's the way that the sandalwood gets the nitrogen is from another tree. Yeah? Without the nitrogen, a plant cannot grow. So for many, many centuries, mankind did not understand sandalwood, and that's why when they took all the sandalwood, it could never come back, and it got to be very rare. We now understand how to grow sandalwood. It's not hard. You just have to plant the trees together. Today, when you guys are planting, we will be planting koa and sandalwood because you have to have both.
跟咖啡不一样，咖啡哪里都能种，好喝不好喝而已。凤梨哪里都能种，我觉得台湾还比较好吃。甘蔗哪里都能种。这些都是经济作物，当然经济自主很重要，但是为的跟他的 family 跟他的家人有更大的这个宏愿的希望，就是他可以把夏威夷这块土地重新富裕到之前他原本应该有的样子，不然他原本就是被滥垦滥伐到光秃秃的一片。那他也跟我们去解释说，为什么檀香山叫檀香山？我问他好了，不要都听我讲。So why is that the Honolulu called Sandalwood Mountain? To translate directly from that.
So Honolulu, I know in the Chinese language, it's still referred to as the Sandalwood Mountain. What happened is, as the Chinese were sailing along the Aleutian Islands and over to North America in the fur trade, and they were doing that for many centuries before Hawaii was found by Captain Cook. Once Captain Cook found Hawaii, the fur traders coming from China were able to cut across the Pacific a quicker route back to China, and they could resupply the ships here. Those Chinese merchants noticed that Hawaii was full of sandalwood. So they started a trade with the Kingdom of Hawaii in 1797. So all of the sandalwood from Hawaii from 1797 until 1828 went straight to Hong Kong. And that's why to this day, Honolulu is known as the Sandalwood Mountain.
好，那对，之前滥垦滥伐，那檀香都可以当做它是高经济作物没有错，但是就是还没长好，它就被砍下来送到中国或是其他地方做家具啊， 或是送到印度，它是有 spiritual 精神上的这个烧檀香的这个用法，但是这边不是。我会问他说，我们做檀香精油会需要多久的时间？这样。Okay, how long does it take for sandalwood to make into essential oils? That could be very crucial.
So here at Kona, we only harvest the dead and the dying sandalwood trees. Because sandalwood is hemiparasitic, it does not have a long life expectancy. So when you plant a sandalwood tree, it will kill 7 other trees. When it is done, roots go out and look for another host. When it can't find any more hosts, it slowly dies. As it is dying, it deposits minerals into the trunk of the tree, into the heartwood, where in the tree it starts to form sandalwood oil. Yeah? That sandalwood oil, as you will see in the education center, is a fantastic antimicrobe. It kills all bacteria, fungus, mold, because the sandalwood tree is trying to survive long enough so it can find another host. So if you wait until the sandalwood tree dies naturally, in our ecosystem, we know that takes about 67 years. So we only take the dead and the dying trees because that's where you get the highest quality oil. In other plantations in Australia, in India, and New Caledonia, they grow their sandalwood in a plantation, and they harvest every 20 years. And they're able to do that because they kill the sandalwood tree themselves very slowly in the plantation. They kill all the hosts, they stop giving the tree its water, they stop fertilizing, and then the tree dies quickly. So they don't create as high a quality as oil, and they're not replacing the natural ecosystem that the sandalwood evolved in. So Kona is the only sandalwood farm in the world that manages the ecosystem the way we do. So the question is how long it takes. My answer always is when the tree dies. Yeah? That's when we take it. In the processing on the other side, as you'll learn during the distillation, sandalwood is very hard wood. So it takes 26 to 30 hours to make the oil come out of the wood. And you will learn about that too.
那今天早上我听到某家这个公司，他也在旁边买了一块土地，正要开始种檀香，所以表示说他们需要多久才能收成
？60-70年。
So I heard about what you just said this morning that another company bought a big land next to it and start next to it and start planting sandalwood. And how long will it take to harvest? Like as long as the plant dies.
So yeah, there's another company that bought 8,000 acres next door, and they're a big competitor of Young Living. So they came to us and asked us to sell them sandalwood oil, and we told them no. So they bought the land next door, and they're planting sandalwood right now. But it won't be another 70 years before they can produce oil. Yeah? So it's a long ways away.
那我不会告诉你是第一家的厂商，是第一家的公司。好，那let's give a big round of applause to Mr. Wei and Mrs. Wei. Mrs. Wei, thank you so much. I appreciate you having us here.
I do want to say, my last name Li is Chinese. So my grandfather's father, my great-grandfather, was Li Tai Hong. And he was from China. So he was one of the Chinese merchants that I mentioned about the sailing.
Okay.
But he married a Hawaiian and stayed here. He didn't go back to China.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It just occurred to me one last question. 我刚刚想到最后一个问题。我们刚才早上中午从哪里来的 ？Greenwell. So what's the relationship between Greenwell and here? 这个是我早上才听到的故事，超精彩。
So this land before Captain Cook came belonged to the Kamamalu family. Li Tai Hong married Mary Kaveheveo Keali'i o Kalani Kamamalu. Who was the granddaughter of Victoria Kamamalu, who was a queen. So this land belonged to my family before Captain Cook came. And it was sold in an auction to pay off the sandalwood debt to China in 1853. And that's when the Greenwells ended up owning all of this land. And all of you were just at Tommy Greenwell's coffee farm down here. So he's another long-time family member in this area. Yeah? So our history on these islands goes back before Captain Cook. And so does Tommy's. Yeah?
买回来之前，最早是属于 Lee's family， 然后因为经济因素，他没有办法再支撑下去，然后就卖给那个 Greenwell 的老板。然后 Greenwell 就是种咖啡豆嘛，纯经济作物。然后呢，在上面他发现咖啡豆种不出来，然后那个土地越来越贫瘠。那威利跟他的 family 就把这个土地买回来，然后才会像刚才讲的，他要把这个光秃秃的土地重新恢复成以前应该有的样子，是不是很棒？是不是来个掌声？掌声加尖叫！